Hi, Entrepreneurs Unity Group here. I'll be discussing The First Grader, a biographical drama film, today. An elderly farmer is out in the field, tilling the soil and sowing seeds. When he gets back to his house, he puts on the radio to hear a guy report that the government has decided to provide free higher education to all citizens. A person's birth certificate is all that is required for enrollment. The next day, a large group of parents shows up at the local school in an attempt to register their children for classes. While at work, Jane receives a call from fellow educator Alfred, who informs her that a senior citizen is seeking out her assistance. When Jane and Maruge finally meet, he hands her a newspaper clipping promising that soon, all children would receive a free public education. It is the youngsters, according to Jane, who should benefit from a free public education. Even Maruge heard it on the radio, he claims, and it was proclaimed that it was open to everyone. As far as Alfred is concerned, the school can't afford to take in an elderly guy who is unable to walk because there are already so many applicants. The next day, Jane's classroom is crammed with eager young minds. When she follows Alfred outdoors, she finds Maruge waiting for her at the school gates. They can't have him, Alfred explains. He ought to be allowed to return to his home and die in peace. What a horrible term to use, in Maruge's opinion. His claim that he is still alive is taken at face value. In order to fit in at school, Alfred informs him that he must wear a uniform consisting of specific garments and footwear. However, he is now unable to pay that. Jane is left to take care of the grandfather while Alfred stays out of it. When Jane presses him on why he wants to enroll, Maruge explains that he wants to learn to read. Jane feels helpless and apologizes to him, but it is too late. Once back in his own house, Maruge reconnects with his cherished chook. He then profits from the sales of these items. As his uncle Alfred insisted, he spends the money to purchase a school outfit. The next day, Maruge goes to school again wearing his regular attire, shirt, shorts, and shoes. After being called out by Alfred a second time, Jane runs into Maruge. Jane assures Alfred he is a man who does not give up easily. They can't let Jane fall for it, Alfred warns. She'll get into difficulties with the school board if she considers admitting Maruge. In Jane's opinion, Alfred is correct. I wonder how she plans to defend herself before the school board or the parents. Maruge promises to put in lots of effort at school. The doors are opened for him by Jane, who has decided to let him in. Jane introduces Maruge to the class as a new student. The youngsters are in good spirits. Jane instructs Maruge to take a seat in the rear, but he refuses, claiming that he cannot see out of the rear window. As she teaches the children the letter A, Jane invites him to join her at the front. After school that day, Maruge comes home to the sound of voices saying he doesn't belong in a classroom because of his advanced age. He hears those voices and is taken back to his childhood, when his nation was under British authority. The next day, Maruge goes back to school and sits at his desk alongside a young girl and a boy named Kamau. When Jane asks Kamau to write the number 5, he fumbles the task the first time and has to try again. Attempting to summon Maruge to write down number 6, Jane's voice is lost on him. Maruge takes a break from supervising the youngsters by sitting on the sidelines and watching them play. The girl with one less leg from his desk comes over to him and asks whether he is unwell. Maruge replies no, he just has terrible hearing. The young woman assures him that she will one day be a physician and treat his ears. The pupils return to class, and Alfred walks in to have a look at them. In conversation with Maruge, he mentions that his pencil is dull and that he should go get a new one. When Maruge stands up to do it, another recollection floods his thoughts. The British tormented him as a child by inserting a sharp pencil into his ear canal. When he comes back to the present, he feels ill and leaves class. Maruge is sitting alone, fiddling with his bracelet. The girl approaches him and inquires, "What is it?" Maruge claims he served time in prison without really being convicted of a crime. He battled for his people's independence when they had their land stolen by whites, and he was thrown in jail as a result. Teachers hear him and the students chanting the word freedom, and they intervene. Alfred claims he will disrupt classrooms here. One day, a photographer shows up at Maruge's school to snap a shot of him. There's talk of an elderly man enrolled in elementary school, the radio host said. The following day at school, a fight breaks out between two students, and Maruge steps in to mediate. A government official comes to the school in the midst of the uproar to investigate whether or not the reports are real. The press contacted him to tell him that there was an elderly student enrolled there. He expresses his displeasure by demanding to know who authorized Maruge's enrollment. According to Jane, she was the one who let him in. The official informs them that he must be expelled since he will not tolerate another day at the school. Although Jane contacts her husband for assistance, he is unable to do much. Jane goes to see the Secretary of Education and fills her up on the Maruge situation. The secretary said that they can't let him enroll because he would inspire other retirees to show up as well. That would take money that should be going to the kids out of the government's hands. Signing Maruge up for classes at an institution designed for adults is the only option they have. At some point, Jane pays Maruge a visit to break the bad news to him. Maruge visits his prospective new school, only to discover that it is very different from his previous elementary school. No one seems interested in learning, and no one is paying attention in class. There is no regard for education, and the noise is so loud that he can't even hear the teacher. Maruge leaves her residence and goes to wait for Jane. The two of them having a conversation after she welcomes him inside. Maruge claims his people used to rely on the land for sustenance, whereas other people's cultures relied on livestock. However, a man's value drops dramatically without the ability to read. He laments that he has been sent a letter he would want to read but cannot since he lacks the education to do it. Jane gives the salesperson a call to see if he has changed his mind about working with Maruge. Nothing has worked thus far. The next day, Jane goes back to school and is greeted by chants of "We did it" and songs of praise from her classmates. She walks into the classroom and finds Maruge encouraging the students. He has the children sit down, explaining that he has come to say goodbye. Rather of leaving Jane in the dark, he turns to her and reveals to her what he told the kids. The fact that a goat cannot even read or spell its own name. A man who can't read is, therefore, no better than a goat. Therefore, students should put in significant study time. Jane enlightens them by saying that goats are perceptive and obstinate creatures. Due to their tenacity, they can teach us a thing or two. In front of the entire class, she reveals that she has hired Maruge to be her assistant teacher. After Maruge's tale hits the headlines, everyone in the country hears about him. People become upset because they don't think it's fair for their kids to have to learn next to an old man. The official returns to the institution and informs Jane that Maruge must enroll in the secondary education program for adults. When Jane explains that Maruge lacks financial resources, he says that he will soon be able to buy supplies thanks to recompense his tribe would get. Besides, Jane is only a school employee and is obligated to follow orders. Maruge is taken back in time to when he was young and his wife told him the happy news that she was expecting. His child's mother was killed by the British despite the fact that she had just given birth to him. Now that they are back in school, Jane is working with Maruge to teach her how to read a few simple words. When they are finished, she gets a phone call from a man informing her that they have been following her and are aware that she is home alone. Jane talks to her husband Charles on the phone about it. Charles returns home to his family, and later that night, he receives a phone call from an unknown number in which a man or woman claims that Charles's wife has been unfaithful to him. Kamau's dad paid a visit to Maruge the day after and asked for some cash. He claims to be aware of the payments he has received from the media and wishes to split them. Maruge claims he is broke and retreats indoors. Kamau's father allegedly paid thugs to cause trouble at Kamau's school. Kamau is there during the exchange. Some noisy men pay a visit to the school, but Maruge chases them out with a beating from his stick. After that, Kamau invites Maruge to sit down and asks how he's doing. Maruge assures Kamau that he is all right and gives him an interesting rhyme to help him memorize the numeral 5. Number 5, where is your hat? Following this, Jane is informed of her impending transfer to a different school in a different city via a letter she gets at school. He feels Jane is giving too much of herself to help an old guy, so they have an argument after she informs him. Jane goes to see Maruge to discuss. Many of Jane's students and parents are looking forward to the arrival of their new teacher. The youngsters, however, are not in agreement. When a new teacher arrives at school, the students lock the doors and begin throwing objects at their parents and the new educator. As a result, the new teacher feels threatened and abandons her classroom. Maruge visits Nairobi in order to speak with the school board there. He shows them his scars and tells them he battled for their freedom. According to him, parents always get the offspring they deserve. The kids need some serious brains behind the classroom. After instructing them to bring Jane back, he exits. The moment word gets out that Jane has been sent back to her former school, there is a mad dash to meet her. The next day, Maruge delivers Jane his letter and explains that he can't understand it because of its complexity. Jane glances at the letter for a moment before handing it to Alfred. A book is opened and he begins to read. A letter from Kenya's president promises Maruge financial recompense for the years he spent in jail for his crimes. He is the reason they are here, Jane adds with pride. According to Maruge, this is not the end, and he plans to keep studying. He plans to devote his life to learning. At the film's conclusion, we learn that Maruge has been invited to speak at a number of events throughout the globe, where she will be discussing the value of an education. You can help our channel grow if you subscribe and appreciate the content we provide. If you don't want to miss any of our new videos, make sure the alerts are turned on. As again, I appreciate you all tuning in.